Stay. Can you offer a chair to Maharaj? Garland to Maharaj. Oops. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jayam Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajaka Ashtottara Shata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. We did text 20 yesterday. Speaking to Parikshit Maharaj. And the chapter was over. And chapter 4 begins. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 4, the characteristics of Rishabhadeva. It's a new chapter, text number 1. The verses are in prose, so I'll just read and then we'll do word for word. Shri Shuka Uvacha Atahatam Utpatyeva Bhijamanam Bhagavallakshanam Samyopashama Vairagyaishwarya Mahavibhutibhir Anudinam Edhamananubhavam Prakritaya Praja Brahmana Devataschavani Samavayanartitam Jadkurduhu. Word for word. Shri Shuka Uvacha Sri Shukadeva Goswami said, Athaha, thus, after the Supreme Personality of Godhead appeared, Tam, him, Utpatya, from the beginning of his appearance, Eva, even, Abhivyajyamana, distinctly manifested, Bhagavat Lakshanam, possessing the symptoms of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Samya, equal to everyone, Upashama, completely peaceful, in control of the senses and mind, Vairagya, renunciation, Aishwarya, opulences, Mahavibhutibhi, with great attributes, Anudinam, day after day, Edhamana, increasing, Anubhavam, his power, Prakritayaha, the ministers, Prajaha, the citizens, Brahmanaha, the learned scholars in full knowledge of Brahman, Devataha, the demigods, Cha, and Avanitala, the surface of the globe, Samavanaya, to rule, Atitaram, greatly, Jagrudhu, desired. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Sri Shukadeva Goswami said, as soon as the Lord was born as the son of Maharaj Nabhi, he manifested symptoms of the Supreme Lord, such as marks on the bottom of his feet, the flag, thunderbolt, etc. The sun was equal to everyone and very peaceful. He could control his senses and his mind, and possessing all opulence, he did not hanker for material enjoyment. Endowed with all these attributes, the son of Maharaj Nabhi became more and more powerful day after day. Due to this, the citizens, learned brahmanas, demigods, and ministers wanted Rishabhadeva to be appointed ruler of the earth. Purport. In these days of cheap incarnations, it is very interesting to note the bodily symptoms found in an incarnation. From the very beginning of his birth, it was observed that Rishabhadeva's feet were marked with the transcendental signs, a flag, thunderbolt, lotus flower, etc. In addition to this, as the Lord began to grow, he became very prominent. He was equal to everyone. He did not favor one person and neglect another. An incarnation of God must have the 6 opulences: wealth, strength, knowledge, beauty, fame, and renunciation. It is said that although Rishabhadeva was endowed with all opulences, he was not at all attached to material enjoyment. He was self-controlled and therefore liked by everyone. Due to his super excellent qualities, everyone wanted him to rule the earth. An incarnation of God has to be accepted by experienced people and by the symptoms described in the Shastras. An incarnation is not accepted simply by the adulation of foolish people. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge the presence of His Holiness Danavir Maharaj here. So naturally I'm a little nervous speaking in the presence of such an exalted soul. So we beg for Maharaj's blessings and all the Vaishnavas' support. In the pages of the Bhagavatam, particularly right now, Lord Rishabhadeva has appeared, and today is Lord Nityananda has appeared. So it's two appearances on the same day. And as soon as Lord Rishabhadeva appeared, there were transcendental symptoms by which he was recognized as a great personality. Not only a great personality, he was recognized as the incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There are some symptoms. When great incarnations appear, there are some symptoms. They don't appear like how an ordinary conditioned soul appears in this world. You have to have midwives, cesarean section, covered with amniotic fluid and, just wrinkled up and really crying and nothing like that. He appeared with wonderful symptoms of great personality. His feet, the soles of his feet were marked with great signs. The thunderbolt, the flag, lotus flower, etc. These are indications of a Mahapurusha. The souls are marked with certain signs. And it described that he was very peaceful, and his senses were very controlled. Right from his childhood, his senses were very controlled. Another thing is, was equal to everyone. So everyone liked him. He didn't overly patronize someone and neglect someone else. So everyone was happy with him. And most importantly, the ministers, the brahmanas, and the demigods, they recognized that he is a great personality, and they wanted him to be the king. And Prabhupada says, in these days of cheap incarnations, nowadays, especially in India, there is an incarnation every 2 blocks. Of course, we accept in Kali Yuga we need a lot of help, but not like this help. And there are so many incarnations, and they come up with names of all the different personalities of whom they are incarnations, and we never heard of them. There is already a few Kalkis, avatars walking around, when it's not even 432,000 years into Kali Yuga. So quickly, I'm sure Lord Kali is very merciful, but he doesn't advent so quickly just to extend his mercy like that. And it's not one, there are multiple Kalki avatars roaming around in India. So these are all cheap incarnations, self-proclaimed. There's a difference between self-effulgent and self-proclaimed. The self-proclaimed fellows don't have any effulgence. And the self-effulgent, they don't need any proclamation. Just by their presence, recognized by ministers and brahmanas and demigods. Ministers are supposed to be very intelligent. That's why they're employed. And the brahmanas, they can recognize the difference between someone spiritual and an impostor. And it is their duty. And he became very prominent very quickly. So here Prabhupada describes that an incarnation of God must have the 6 opulences: wealth, strength, knowledge, beauty, fame, and renunciation. The cheap incarnations, they have only one opulence of the Lord. And they don't, even if they don't have it, that's what they're looking for. They're only looking for one opulence called wealth. And most of them are recognized by being wealthy. They try to get the adoration of foolish followers, as Prabhupada says, adulation of foolish followers, and all they want is money. Somehow get their wealth. And they make cheap promises. 20,000 people get initiated through the television or something like that. And that initiation means nothing. It's publicly, whatever different mantras are given out in the name of being an incarnation. And if you look at other opulences like strength, these incarnations don't have any strength. They have to be wheeled on a wheelchair from one place to another. Forget about any renunciation. They wear clothes that are saffron, but are not renounced in any way. Let's not talk about beauty at all. The Supreme Personality of Godhead was extremely beautiful. The modern incarnations are far from that. So it's only wealth that's the main or the prominent opulence that they are after. They're after Krishna's wealth. And fame, that's what they want. And they become famous in different ways. They can conduct little magical things, some mystery, pull out a golden ring from somewhere, little ash for cash, these kinds of things. And they become very popular incarnations. People, oh, today I got some ash from Ash Baba. Yeah, they're very, he's long gone. Huh? Ash Baba. So ash this and people actually don't even consider what is it that they're getting, because in everyone is quite disturbed. Upadrataha manda sumanda matayo manda bhagya hi upadrata. This manda bhagya is that they're so unfortunate, Prabhupada writes, that there's always someone waiting to cheat them in the garb of a pseudo-religionist. It's because of that manda bhagya, they always are, they become gullible very easily for some cheap promise. And most of the promises that some cure of disease or some advice to how to make more money or problems in relationships, like that. Basically, people are disturbed because there's nobody who cares to hear. Nobody who cares to hear their problems. So one cheap fellow will make a show of giving some solution. Give them a ring, give them a little ash, give this, make a promise. Open a hospital, something, and this is an incarnation of God. And when people glorify like that, they don't deny it. But Lord Rishabhdeva is not like that. Most importantly, he was self-controlled. So there's a distinction. There's a distinction between genuine incarnations and the false incarnations. The genuine incarnations are described in the Bhagavatam, in the different Puranas. And they come for a particular purpose. They come for the upliftment of society. They don't come for material upliftment only. In fact, such a personality, when Krishna says, Dharma Sansthapanarthaya, one of the essential meanings of dharma is to somehow encourage people to move towards their constitutional nature. This is dharma. By their extraordinary activities or by their instruction, by their example, They inspire everyone to become servants of God. But the pseudo-incarnations, they're not interested in making people servants of God. They're interested in people becoming their servants and giving up their money. And they don't do anything for the upliftment of their followers. They give them false hope and, in one sense, an assurance that living in this world is not so bad after all. So people are not inspired to make a change, are not inspired to transform from a highly conditioned life to a spiritual state of existence. They are inspired to follow some outwardly ritual, or at least be good. The pseudo-incarnations cannot give any transcendental teaching. All their teachings are very moral, morality-based. And we know from Bhagavad Gita that morality doesn't help distinguish between spirit and matter necessarily. And not being able to distinguish between spirit and matter is the most essential. Not being able to distinguish is the biggest problem of a conditioned soul. It's called Pashyan api na pashyati. They cannot recognize. Although they are seeing birth, old age, disease and death and transformations, they cannot recognize that there is a soul and that soul has a particular purpose, how conditioning happens. In fact, they will also recite the Bhagavad Gita, but they will not be able to access the message of the Bhagavad Gita. They will not be able to access the real essence of the Bhagavad Gita. At best, they will get inspired by, perform your duty very nicely. Karmanyeva adhikaraste. That's the inspiration at best. And what is dharma? Make your money. That's what they will inspire them. Make money, take care of me, etc. But this is not the teaching of Bhagavad Gita. Even if they recite the verse, Ananyas chintayanto mam ye janaf paryupasate, like that, their whole conception is that this pseudo-incarnation will take care of me. And he doesn't. There is no way. What is the best way of taking care of someone? Is to instruct them in transcendental knowledge. In the 5th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, in one of the purports, I forget the number, either 18 or 24, Krishna describes, there's a verse Prabhupada quotes, of how he maintains how he maintains the different living entities. And he gives the analogy, darshana dhyana samsparshar. By vision, by contemplation or meditation, and by touch. And he gives how different living entities also take care of their children like that. He says darshana, the fish, they take care of the little embryo by looking at them. The tortoise takes care of its eggs. They're laid on sand or somewhere, and the tortoise is in water, and it meditates on her eggs. And that's how she protects them or maintains them. And the bird, mother bird, she hatches her eggs by sitting on them, by touch, and the little ones feel full shelter. Similarly, the Lord says, I take care of them. I nourish them. So this is the way to uplift one's, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead uplifts all the conditioned living entities by thinking about their welfare. The pseudo-incarnations, they don't care for others' welfare. And even if they did, which is highly improbable. But even if they did, they wouldn't know what is the ultimate welfare. They may make cheap promises of liberation. But what is liberation? How to go about the process of liberation? They don't know. At best, they can give some vague ideas of be detached, be detached. But being detached, most people get frustrated because they don't know how to be detached. Vairagya, Rupa Goswami describes that if one simply cultivates jnana and vairagya, there is a problem. Without bhakti, if one cultivates jnana and vairagya, one's heart becomes hardened. And the hardening of the heart is that instead of being detached, they become indifferent. And most people don't know how to be indifferent, don't know how to be detached. So with indifference, they have a set of problems. With overly being attached, they have a whole different set of problems. But regardless, they have problems. Only the genuine transcendentalist knows how to relieve a conditioned soul of the real problems of life. That is by systematic attachment to Krishna. So Prabhupada says an incarnation is not accepted. Accepted by who? Accepted by the learned person. Accepted by the great saintly persons. Accepted by Shastra. They are not accepted. These reference personalities and entities do not accept cheap incarnations at all. And it is our duty as much to educate ourselves and others about the distinction between a genuine transcendentalist, or here in this case, a genuine incarnation of the Lord, and some impostor. Thorough education is the most powerful tool. That is, when one's intelligence is awakened, then their ability to discern and distinguish between genuine and impostor becomes powerful. As long as the intelligence is not awakened, then one follows on the basis of what's called blind faith or material intelligence. So we are very fortunate that Srila Prabhupada, through the medium of his Bhaktivedanta purports, his Vani, is enlightening us to not fall prey to cheap incarnations or false promises or false hopes of a better material condition in this world. Quite the contrary, he encourages us and gives us full confidence to enthusiastically pursue cultivation of Krishna consciousness. And Lord Rishabhdev, now that he has appeared in Srimad Bhagavatam, we will hear his characteristics, his wonderful personality, and in the next chapter, his very important teachings. So those are some points. I wanted to keep class short because we have a festival. So any comments? Maharaj, would you like to add anything? Okay. Anyone? Acharya Nista and then Ravi Lochan Prabhu.
Thank you. So Rishabhdev is an incarnation of Krishna. What does it mean that God is self-controlled, or he can control his mind? That quality, it seems to apply more to conditioned souls, but sometimes I feel like it's a description given here.
Well, the Lord's, it's constitutional nature, or his constitutional condition, that his mind is always controlled. We can understand what is a controlled mind from the vantage point of what is an uncontrolled mind. Whimsical, evaluates on the basis of one's own comfort or discomfort, or seeking honor and dishonor, etc. So like influenced by the modes of nature. Krishna's mind is not influenced by the modes of nature. So whatever is happening, the circumstances, regardless of whether it's small thing like Satyabhama wants especially she wants it right now, the Parijata flower. Or the whole universe is being disturbed by the great demons. Krishna's mind is always peaceful. Transcendentally he might do things, but his mind is always peaceful. It's not uncontrolled. His desires for the